Good morning. Good morning. Does anybody know what yesterday was? Groundhog Day. And who knows the name of the very important groundhog? Punxsutawney Phil. Who can spell Punxsutawney? It's in your order of service. It's spelled correctly. You know how I know it's spelled correctly? Because I checked it, and when you do spell check didn't underline it anymore. So I know. So Punxsutawney is a little town in western Pennsylvania, and the groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil has lived there for like over 100 years. He must be really old for a groundhog. And he's been telling us about whether spring is coming or not for a long time. How did that happen? How did that start? Does anybody know? I'll tell you. Well, it just so happens that this is a bigger holiday than you might imagine. Because a long time ago, in Ireland, and other places in Europe, but in Ireland, I'm going to talk about in Ireland, people noticed that around this time of year, it would start to get, well, what does your lawn look like right now? Who has a lawn? Does anybody have a lawn? What does it look like? It's white, and when it starts to melt, what does it look like? Mud. It started to look muddy. People noticed that the seasons were changing. When the seasons change, it doesn't happen. It doesn't go from snow one day to flowers the next. It happens slowly. It's mud season. That's right. I heard that. It's mud season. And so before people were even Christians in Ireland, because you know there are a lot of Christians in Ireland, there were pagans in Ireland, and they celebrated the goddess Brigid at this time of year. And they'd wait to celebrate her special holiday, Imbolc. Can you say that, Imbolc? Imbolc. They'd celebrate her special holiday right around the time when the snowbells appeared. 9 days after the snowbells would appear. In the mud, or sometimes even in the snow, they come out even before the crocuses. And they'd know that spring was probably coming. And the goddess, Brigid, is the goddess of the hearth and milkmaids and a lot of other things, but also of, here's a big word, are you ready for this one? Prognosticating. Prognosticating, can you say that? Prognosticating. That's a big word. That means telling the future. And she got associated, this time of year got associated with forecasting the spring. Now, in some other countries, like in Germany, people would look at small animals like rodents, things like groundhogs, and they decided that, well, if the winter was harsh, it meant spring was coming early. But if winter was mild, it meant it would go on for a long time. And so they'd start to decide that if those animals could see their shadow, when can you see your shadow? Can you see your shadow if the sun is hiding behind clouds? No. Can you see your shadow when the sun is out? So if they could see their shadow, it meant winter was going to go on for a long time. And when they moved here to the United States, and a lot of them settled in Pennsylvania, they carried that tradition. So in Pennsylvania, when Punxsutawney Phil, who's the groundhog, he looks like that. That's a groundhog. When Punxsutawney Phil comes out of his hole on February 2nd, which was Yesterday, it was yesterday. They check to see if he can see his shadow. Now, some people say he's afraid of his shadow and he goes back in his hole, and that's why winter lasts. What was the weather like yesterday? Does anybody know? It was cold and overcast and cloudy. So he didn't see his shadow yesterday. So that means that spring is coming. Is anybody here ready to be warm? I tell you, I love winter. Winter is my favorite, and I'm ready to be warm. So that is the story of Punxsutawney Phil. And if you ever go to Punxsutawney on February 2nd, you might see the whole big ceremony. You'll see it there, that's right, to see if the groundhog, if Punxsutawney Phil, will see his shadow. And it all started with the goddess Bridget, who then became Saint Bridget later. There was another Bridget, and we look to her for the hearth also. I'm wishing you a very happy Groundhog Day and a very happy early arrival of spring in this season of mud to come. And now, shall we sing our children and teachers to the classroom? Go now in peace, go now in peace.